sit down, sit down, sit down.
Nate, doesn't have to... Was the file fine last time?
Yeah, it was fine.
I don't think we have to freaking lean in.
Okay, Nate, set it down,
it'll pick it
bro.
up. Us up.
Alright.
No, okay.
Nate!
No, jeez!
Literally, I would have pulled it in if I wanted to. I freaking specifically didn't pull it in because I knew that would happen if I did.
Crap, dude, I'm sorry.
Hey, oh my lord.
Lord is a...
Nate, stop!
Just don't touch anything, Nate. Let me freaking do it.
Right.
The cord only,
I was just putting some slack in the cord.
the cord only reaches this far. That is why I put it
Doesn't
there.
anymore. Put some slack in it.
Great, I can move it like 2 freaking feet, Nate. Great. Awesome.
Joey, sit down.
You put
Bro,
some freaking
We're already
slack in.
a minute into the Steve. Should I
Okay,
just keep this part?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should send the deleted Steve
The
scene.
Steve-
So then we can have a Filmersteve bloopers.
Oh my
I'll
frick.
turn the gain down a little bit.
Alright. Alright.
Nate's
Alright.
freaking with
Alright.
the game.
Alright.
Do you want to like
Alright.
start a new
I'm
recording
in-
so that you can
No.
you know where to cut? Or
No, it's fine. A minute in, it's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Filmersteve, your favorite film podcast. Today I'm joined by the same people as last time. Thur.
Hi, my name's Nate. Cowboy
and,
Nate.
And Joey.
Yeah.
So, we have a couple films to discuss today. We just saw Under the Skin, directed by Jonathan Glazer, which was recommended by your boy last time. And we also saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this past week, so stick around for that. But seeing as how we just saw Under the Skin, let's talk about that crap first. So, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. It, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I knew that already.
I love everything about it. I'm curious as to what you guys thought about it.
Yeah.
Joey, you first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was very trippy.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Definitely.
Very, very pretentious, as I might say.
Oh my
If I might
frick.
go so far.
Is it actually pretentious though?
I mean, at this point, I hardly even know what pretentious really means. Like,
Okay.
So in a certain sense, definitely the closest thing I've ever seen to it was 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think.
Especially the final act. Yeah.
Well,
Of 2001, I
and
mean.
the first act of 2001.
Right. They're both trippy. They're
Yeah,
both.
where the sort of storytelling it uses is
Yeah.
very unique.
No dialogue.
Similar to that. Yeah.
And
It's like
lots
the
of weird imagery that
Yeah.
you don't quite know what it is at
Like,
first.
basically, the 50% of the storytelling, probably more than that, is just cinematography. And
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And maybe, like, a bit of soundtrack.
Right. By the way, you guys, if you haven't seen Under the Skin, please stop listening to the podcast. Thanks.
Please, I, Nilmer, am going to ask you to stop listening to the podcast right now, or I will delete your kneecap.
Yeah. You can come back to this episode of the Filmersteve podcast if you have seen the film.
Or we can skip
just
ahead.
Or, you know what, I'll put in a timestamp right now to when we start discussing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if you want to hear that segment of the podcast instead, because that film is a lot easier to not spoil, I think.
Really?
I'd say
I think
so.
I'm going to spoil it. I think I want to...
All right,
the stuff I want
if
to
you
talk
haven't
about,
seen either of the films, click off right now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See, you saved all the discussion for that film for Filmersteve, and
As
so
you're
I
maxing
want
out
to
the
discuss.
microphone a lot.
I want to discuss the elements of that film. But
With the
but
Gabe.
We'll skip to that. All right.
back to UTS.
Anyway, Nate, your turn.
Okay, that wasn't much of an explanation from Joey, but I thought it was a good film. Also reminded me a lot of 2001.
Yeah.
I thought that, well, it was engaging. Like, you had to pay attention to a lot of it and look at, and you had to like anticipate when the next thing was going to happen, because there's just a lot of like waiting around in this movie, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
But towards the end, I don't know, for some reason my mind started getting more restless, and I started thinking of random things, and it distracted me from the film, because
That's
that's
your
the kind
fault,
of person I am.
Yeah.
That's not
Must
the
be your
film's fault.
problem, Nate.
I mean, it does definitely, as it goes on, I mean, I can see how it would lose you a little bit. I'm still engaged in the movie, but, I mean, I can understand that in a sense, but I feel like it's necessary, that slow pace. I mean,
Yeah, I personally am a big fan of slow, contemplative pacing.
yeah, and that's why I thought you'd like this film.
Computer
so.
isn't plugged in. Yeah.
Contemplative?
Yes,
Yeah.
mate.
It
Yeah.
gives you time to what's going on in the movie
Right.
as it happens.
Yeah, just
Right.
like something random happens, and there's so much downtime afterwards that you have a lot of time to think about what just happened.
Well, maybe downtime.
Well, because there's stuff happening throughout the
I
whole
mean-
thing. There's no like scene where something isn't happening.
Yeah.
What?
That's up for debate, honestly. It's up to interpretation.
Okay,
Whether-
Nate,
What scene could have been cut out of the movie and it would have been fine?
there were so many scenes of her driving that I don't think contributed anything to the plot.
Well,
Wow,
I think
okay.
the repetition of the driving stuff just kind of shows, just the life she's leading.
Right.
Essentially.
My
How
thoughts
Yeah.
exactly.
the
That's
same
all she does is
loop
just
over and over
drive
again.
around.
She-
That's her job.
She only
basically.
drives, and there's so many shots of just her in the rearview mirror, and that doesn't really add anything to the film
Her in the rearview
necessarily.
It
mirror.
except-
definitely does. I mean,
That
if they
scene
just
was-
showed it once, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of weird.
She's driving.
She's just
Okay,
some
okay,
random
okay.
lady who,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, the more times we see it, and with the whole motorcycle guy, we know that it's her job and that it's all she does really, and that she's not normal.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Maybe I shouldn't have said it doesn't add anything, but
Yeah.
my point is, I think it counts as downtime because, like, oh, you see another shot of her in a car, and that it makes a point to say that she drives a lot and she has ill intentions potentially, but it also gives you a lot of time to think about what happened in the previous scene.
Right. I don't see
Yeah.
that as a bad thing at all.
No, but
Well-
like you said, I said there's a lot of downtime. You're
Well,
like,
I
there's
wouldn't
no
call it downtime though, because I'm still engaged in it.
Yeah.
I feel like there aren't really moments where more, or there sort of is. I mean, there's the dialogue points kind of scattered
Yeah.
throughout the movie, but I feel like there's some sort of implication with every single scene. And
Right.
It's like, yeah, an implied like almost emotion that you're supposed to be getting.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to make you feel a certain way, as opposed to like a specific plot point that you're supposed to be like making note of or something. I
Yeah.
guess.
Especially with the final guy, with the disfigured face.
Yeah.
Not to be mean, but that definitely changed things up because it's different from how all the other men acted, and I find that scene very, very engaging and haunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene, Nate?
That's probably the longest one too, of them just being in the car together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they do it and show the kind of loop, and then they kind of take you out of the repetitious nature and kind of just highlight on one specific
Right.
like incident almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
And then after that, stuff happens.
Yeah. Right. What do you guys think of the beach scene?
I thought it was probably one of the most impactful scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
Without
I'd agree.
a doubt.
That the shot at night of the baby crying kind of terrifies me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd call it impactful necessarily, more just upsetting. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm upset
yeah,
by this.
yeah.
I mean, I think of impactful as being like, oh, this is really. Well, I mean, it did
It's
stir up
emotionally
emotion,
resonant. Yeah.
But I don't know what that's supposed to tell me beyond like, oh, this is bad, So, but I found it upsetting, and it kind of played into the overall sinister tone of
Yeah.
what was going on.
Right.
I thought it was a great way to make a point to show that at that point she was focused on her goal more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that she doesn't really understand human emotions all that well.
Yeah. Or maybe
She could understand.
she
that-
could understand
doesn't
that she's
empathize
just ignoring
with
them
them.
because
Yeah.
like she has a goal and she's trying
Yeah.
to get it done, and so she doesn't care about anything else. She's just looking for an opportunity to
Right.
get the guy.
But as the film progresses, of course, we see her become more empathetic and
You know that throughout the movie she has a certain understanding of human emotion
yeah.
because she has to play into it in order to get these men, basically.
Yeah. If she just acted weird all the time, just staring into space, then men probably would not get in her car to have relations with her.
Relate.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
So-
she's very friendly to them, not creepy, so she knows how to, mess with them.
Yet she drives a white van.
Spooky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting how she goes from having this understanding of emotion that's more surface level, maybe.
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
say. And then kind of gets to understand it at a more intimate level, I
Right.
guess, where
Yeah.
she first understands kind of how it works, but then later she kind of understands what the point of it all is.
Right.
It's more like I interpreted it more as she sort of wanted to experience it
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
instead of like
I mean, she clearly did. She went to a restaurant, ate that cake. I mean, like, she didn't have to try all those things.
But it was, I mean, what Joey was saying is that she understood human emotion, but I felt more like she finally wanted to come into contact with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she hadn't really.
What I was saying is she understood it before, but she didn't understand it at a more intimate level. But she, over time, kind of became more interested in it, and kind of wanted to experience what it is to be human herself.
Yeah.
Because of all the people she'd met and had left a positive impression on her, I think.
Yeah. Especially the guy who they almost have intercourse. But also the guy with the disfigured face. I mean, they both were pretty kind to her and not at all rapey like all the other dudes. So.
What were the other dudes? Rapey?
Well, I mean, they were
There's only the
overeager.
guy.
I mean, the guy at the party, like, well, also the people who literally attacked her van when she was sitting in it, and she had to drive away from them. But
yeah, I
mean,
couldn't tell what was happening there. Like,
well, I mean,
that was a
my impression is that they're trying to break into her car so they can attack her. I mean,
well,
I mean,
she could
there
just
was
drive away.
it's a stupid thing to do, but
I didn't think
all the men in the first act of the film, I would say, are pretty predatory.
I didn't say it. I didn't think of it as like trying to break in. I thought it was more like just playing a prank.
Yeah, I mean, it just came off as more sexual to me. I don't know.
Okay. Also, I wouldn't say like the men are predatory. It's more like they're eager and she wants to try to play
they're
into
thirsty.
it. They're thirsty.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Well,
a good.
I think really there's nothing inherently wrong with the people at the beginning of the movie. It's more that they just have their priorities slightly different than the people towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Where these people in the beginning are primarily focusing on sexual achievements, let's say.
Yeah.
And then the reason why they're being nice to her is in order to,
You know, I do know.
And then in the later part, the people are also nice, but any sexual stuff comes secondary. And I think that's the real difference. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the people at the beginning. It's just they're more disingenuous in a sense.
They're not terrible people except for the guy at the very end.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, he tried to rape her.
Yeah.
And all the other guys
set her
were
on fire.
just, that too.
Out of fear because he tore her skin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I wanted to bring up this point.
Yes.
During the rape scene, they played the music that played when she was in the dark water place and was like trapping all the men.
Oh,
I noticed that.
And I thought that was an interesting choice because it was like trying to come across as like sort of she kind of I don't know. I interpreted it as she either understood what it felt like to have those things be done to her, or as like karma.
Yeah.
Like you did this and now this gets done to you.
It's a certain sort of role reversal that happens at the end, where she goes from preying on these men and then suddenly a man's preying on her.
Yep.
And
In a much more violent way.
It kind of brings things together, and I think she maybe realizes in that moment how wrong her actions are, I guess.
Yeah. Even if she was a bit less cruel about it than he was.
Well, a bit less cruel. These people end up like suffocating in some liquid over.
Yeah.
They don't
like,
suffocate,
fully
but they
rotting
like
to death
they-
or something,
they-
or
turn into
they
skin.
pulp. It's
Their
like-
meat gets taken out and
Yeah.
they sink to the ground.
I don't think that's not cruel. I think that's pretty cruel.
It's it's bad.
maybe not.
Just not. She doesn't physically attack them. I guess
Do you
it's
think-
just something she's being forced to do by a motorcycle guy. I think.
Yeah.
Do you think the aliens were harvesting the people for meat or for skin?
I'd say meat because we saw like the process of the meat
Yeah,
going
there was
through
some, like,
those.
rounder thing.
It's definitely possible that it's both or either one of them. I don't know. It's not explained, but
Not important.
When that one guy popped, it seemed like the skin looked pretty useless afterwards.
Yeah,
It's kind
yeah,
of
it just-
floating around
right.
in there.
I don't know what they would use the skin for, but the meat could be consumed whatever.
Yeah, it was a very weird premise when you think about it. It doesn't really make that much sense, and it's not super well explained.
Yeah, when the guy just evaporates, that sound it jump scares me so bad.
It's because it's a jump scare sound.
I know but I know it's coming, and it still gets me. I don't freaking. Jeez, the soundtrack in general in this movie is just
Very
amazing to
well-designed.
me. Yeah, like I listen to
Good
it all the time.
atmosphere, you know.
It's very creepy.
You listen to it?
Yes,
I listen to it all the time. Yeah.
I feel like I would.
That's just something you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes well with the movie, but it's very like off-putting, dissonant music like that. I feel like I wouldn't just listen to in my spare time.
I mean,
I don't know.
I like being freaked out a little bit.
I might. I like to live life on the edge.
Yeah.
I would.
Alright.
I might listen to the song that plays when the men are getting liquefied, not liquefied, but like trapped, because
Mhm.
that's it kind of slaps a little bit. But
yeah.
Anything else? Nah.
I mean, the one that sticks with me the most is when she meets the dude, and then they try to have sex in his room. That song, it's called "Love" in the soundtrack, and I'm a big fan of that one.
see, I can't just recall what.
Yeah,
the
no,
soundtrack
you guys
sounds
have
like.
you guys just saw the movie once. First time I saw it, the soundtrack, I mean, didn't stick with me that much, but I've listened to it a lot since, and I've seen the movie twice since, so I'm a lot more familiar with it now. So I don't blame you guys for that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know.
Very unnerving film.
Yeah. What do you guys think about maybe potential meaning to the film?
Well, there's the social commentary.
What's that?
Well, I mean, men are creepy. You know.
That's-
Well, it's
not very elaborate social commentary.
No, I know. It's more deep than that, obviously, but like, I guess just our urges as people, well, and what it's like to be human. I mean,
Yeah. It's about
in a general sense, that's what it's about.
it's about what humankind is. It's
Yeah.
through the eyes of an alien discovering what humans are like, really.
Yeah.
But what do you think it's saying about said humans? They're creepy.
I guess so. What do you think, Nate?
Not everyone is creepy. Some people are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I
Right. You see the better side of humanity as the movie goes on, as we've said. You know.
I was thinking it was saying something about like the sort of two sides to
Right,
humanity.
yeah.
How there's, there's a variety of. It's a mixed bag, I guess, is what mankind is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it
I
presents
think it's
that very well. Not very subtle, but like tasteful and well executed for sure. Any other thoughts, Nate? Or should we move on to the letterbox rating?
Let's move on to the Letterboxd rating.
All right,
It's that time at night.
I'll start. 5 stars. What about you guys?
I didn't watch this film and be like, wow, this film is incredible. It's now my 8th favorite Letterboxd film.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. So
It's
the first
different.
time I saw it, I liked it. Second time I saw it, I loved it. And again, third time I loved it. I mean, it's just,
Is it going to move up on your Letterboxd list?
I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, it definitely leaves a little bit more of an impact on me every time. And the more I understand it, the more I appreciate it and love it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, I couldn't think of a lot of flaws, but at the same time, I didn't watch it and was like, super. I wasn't like, wow, this is an incredible movie. It was definitely an interesting experience, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it was like really simple, and there wasn't a whole lot in the movie, but there was a whole lot you could take away.
So like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I think there was even more substance in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like,
Yeah.
in this movie, like, not a lot happens until, like, the last 45 minutes.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so, I think it mostly just builds and then the interesting stuff happens. That's the only thing close to a flaw that I can think of. But I'd give this film 4 out of 5 stars.
Good. Joey.
I don't know. I think I'd say somewhere in the range of 4 to 5.
Yeah.
And I can't quite decide where that would be. Part of me wants to rate it like a flying, like, perfect 5 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
And then another part of me kind of agrees with what Nate's saying about the substance. I don't know.
Right.
I didn't watch it, and it didn't awe me, I guess.
Oh.
In that
Okay.
sense. I mean,
Okay.
I really I just like movies that are like that, right?
Yeah, me too.
You're
That
pretentious.
kind of, yeah, I'm pretentious.
Okay,
I'm
thing
saying.
is, you like movies that are like that more than me, but I love this movie so
Yeah.
much.
I do love the movie. I
Yeah.
can't decide whether it's like a good movie
know.
or a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets me.
You guys understand the
Something I have
Scottish
to-
dialogue?
Not a whole lot.
Like maybe a quarter of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, for context, in case you couldn't tell, those weren't actors. They were just random people they found on the street and then filmed, and then they're like, "Hey, want to be in our movie?" And then they took them to the upside down or
The
whatever.
room.
Yeah.
really?
The treasure
Yeah.
room. Oh,
There were hidden cameras in the car, and they just filmed random people, and then. So I think that adds a whole new layer of realism to the film that makes me.
like
just
once
way
they got
more
in the car,
fascinated by
once
it.
they got in the car, did they?
I'm sure once they got in the car, they
Yeah,
knew.
yeah.
Like there were people in the back of the car that were like, "Hey guys, actually, you're in a movie with Scarlett Johansson
Oh, so
right now."
that's why she was driving a white van. Do you think like people recognize Scarlett Johansson?
Not in Scotland, I don't think.
Really?
Well, I don't know. She's a pretty famous actress. but, like-
Avengers is a worldwide phenomenon.
well, I'm sure there are people who recognize Scarlett Johansson, but they wouldn't have put that in the movie. So.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah, wow, that actually is really cool.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah. So 4.5 now, or because like, I mean, I don't know. It really gives me much more of a sense of how gullible people really are, or something like that. I think it's a very good film technique, something I've never seen before, really, in any other
What about
movie.
Borat?
I haven't seen it.
Ooh.
Well, I'm sure obviously French New Wave, there are lots of films with just random actors, but they probably don't play as much of a role as they do in this movie. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen Borat. I kind of want to.
I don't know what that is, Dave. I'll be honest.
And like, even when they're walking through the mall, I mean, they have a camera following her from behind, and you can see people like glancing at the camera for a second. I don't think they're actors, or
Yeah.
even paid extras. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
I
they're
feel
actually
like-
thinking about that. Like,
Yeah.
there's a
I-
lot of
like-
people in this movie. How did they pull that off?
They didn't.
they didn't.
Yeah. So,
Well, they did, but like.
in Scotland, is it legal to just film whoever and put them in a commercial product without their
Well,
consent?
Obviously, they give their consent.
Well, all of those
after
people
they're
in the
filmed.
mall.
Maybe not. I don't
Like,
know.
I'm
I don't
thinking
know.
about that. Like, how could you possibly include that without having a bunch of extras?
Right.
And I mean, I think in some places it is legal, in some places it isn't. I think maybe even here it might be legal.
Like
I
in,
just don't know.
even in different states, it varies.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not.
I haven't
sure.
thought about that. But I don't think so. I think Scarlett Johansson is the only actual actor in this movie because I watched the
What about
the
the
special features.
what about the motorcycle guy?
him too? Yeah.
The guy with the deformity?
Yeah. Well, I looked him up, and he is an actor, but I don't think he's been in much else.
The guy who the rapist?
Okay, so he was an actual like park ranger, whatever, wherever they filmed, and then they just asked him if he wanted to be in the movie. And I watched the special features.
And then they were like, "You
And
want to
he
rape
was-
Scarlett Johansson?"
He was extremely uncomfortable during that scene and did not want to
I
do
can't
it.
blame
But I
him.
think he pulled it off really
He
well.
did pull
He
it.
was
For
terrifying.
someone who is not an actor,
yeah,
filming a rape scene.
it's a tough thing to do for sure, and I mean, good job. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Like, I think it adds a lot to the genuine, like, earnest sense of the movie.
hmm
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched Chris Stuckman's review, and he saw that as a flaw, that everything else in the movie is so perfectly crafted, and that is just not like the way they talk is. I mean, it's not the director's intent, I guess.
Well, I think
Or-
it's supposed to be
Yeah. No.
conversational. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be natural, right? And I think
I-
the most
I-
natural
yeah.
way you can get somebody to respond to it, asking what the directions are, is to get their actual reaction,
hmm
right?
And I think it worked. I'm
I
just
think
saying
I
that's
think that
another
worked
opinion out there.
fantastically.
Yeah. Anyway, under the skin discussion done.
Yep.
All right,
Time to move on
to a little bit different film that we saw. Uh,
to a very different film.
yeah. So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Nate's first Quentin Tarantino film. Joey's second. My fourth.
The third, right?
My third at the time. Now I've seen four.
Well,
I watched
still-
another one
it's-
last night.
It's still the third, though.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
order of
Okay.
my
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Nate, I think you like this one the least.
I'd probably say that's true.
The least of us.
Of us, yeah. There are people who in the world who
Yeah.
dislike it more than Nate.
No. I with a lukewarm review.
Yeah.
And the person who likes this film the least in the world. Yeah.
Right. And I can understand what you said in that review. Do you want to recap it for the listeners?
Okay. Well, I'm probably gonna spoil this too because I'd really like to go.
Yeah. Okay. If you
in
haven't seen
depth
this, just log
in
off,
history,
please.
but yeah. I thought this movie was like it had a lot of moving threads and it just randomly cut away for other scenes just as background explanation, and like it had some other stuff that annoyed me, like randomly in the third act there was suddenly some narration and
Yep.
That was
threw me
there
off.
before, right?
and in like the first scene.
Yeah, I thought there had been narration.
In the very first scene, it was like
Oh yeah.
this. What's his name? What is his name?
Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton got a DUI, and so now Cliff drives him everywhere, and that's it. That's all you hear of it
Yeah.
until the third act.
But was the narrator a character in the movie?
No,
No, it was just
No.
some guy.
He was just
Alright.
some guy.
That's kind of weird. That's kind of a weird choice, honestly.
And that reminds me of the rectangle in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so all the Tarantino movies I've seen, they have these weird editing choices that just make no sense to me.
You'll find out about the rectangle later.
The rectangle. It's the best scene in the movie,
Yeah.
really. But
Alright.
like even in Glorious Bastard, just random writing on the screen, and like Death Proof is they manually scratched up the film in the first half of the movie to make it look old. It's just, and there's lots of like cuts where they like repeat themselves sometimes, like they're trying to make it look bad. It's just all his movies have these weird quirks to them, and
all right. But anyway,
I don't mind it. I think it's funny, but
for me to continue on with the rest of the
right. Sorry.
So at the end of the third act, there's this big action scene, and it's really well set up. Like all the elements were put in place. He visits the cultist farm. He killed his wife and got away with it. He's even holding the dog food can, and he has this dog right there.
Mhm.
And then like immediately the dog goes and attacks, and he throws the can, and it's so perfectly set up. He sets up the dominoes and he knocks him down amazingly well. But it was just the tone was so contrasting with the rest of the movie, and it left me so annoyed.
Wow.
And yet
Okay.
it was a good action scene. It was a good action.
It was a great action scene.
It was a little over the top if you ask me, but
I mean, you gotta expect that if you know who Quentin Tarantino is. You
I have
know?
a very opposing interpretation of
Oh,
that.
frick, let's hear
well,
it.
no, well.
Oh, okay. Nate's gonna
Go on.
finish.
Like the one other nitpick I had was just that I didn't like Rick Dalton's accent because it didn't sound like an accent that someone would actually have, but I'm sure that was intentional.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the whole movie was a little bit cheesy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't bothered by that at all.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to be from Missouri, right? I mean,
He's from Missouri. Yeah.
It seemed like a feasible accent to me. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I feel like it was a little over the top. It sounded like this, and it was really just I think kind of silly.
I mean, it's supposed to be
The whole movie's kind of silly,
It's
but
supposed to be
like,
a stereotypical like Western actor accent, right?
yeah,
When you think of a Western movie, that's the accent you think of.
yeah,
So I think it's accomplish that effect.
right.
All right. Well, as for what I liked about the movie, I really liked just the scenes of driving, and I thought it was like well interspersed through. The comedy I thought was really well pulled off, and I liked the scene of like the neon lights just lighting up. That was very, very cool looking.
Remind me when that was.
It was near the end.
The neon lights.
The neon lights,
Oh,
like all
yeah,
the signs
yeah.
were lighting up. At
Yeah,
night.
yeah. Okay.
That was really cool. But probably my favorite scenes were the ones where he was filming the Western, and like intentionally they chose not to make it look old, and I thought that was to like make it feel like you were on set with the actors, and I thought that was a really cool choice, and I liked
Yeah.
that.
What
a
do you
lot.
mean make it look old?
Well, so the first, when there was that guy interviewing the two of them, it's black and white and 4:3, but in the scene when they're filming the movie, it's not. Is that what we were talking about?
Well,
because
I mean-
YMS complained about that in his review.
No, that's kind of why I was like thinking about it when that scene happened, is because of that comment, and I was just like, I think this works really well.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's a distinct because the 4:3 black and white part that was from a long time ago, right?
Yeah, that
It was
was
filmed in black and white, and everything was filmed in 4:3.
right. That was previous to
But-
the filming scenes.
Yeah, but this part is in 1969. They don't just have black and white anymore, so it wouldn't make any sense for it to look like that.
I know, but they still could have, like, if they wanted to accomplish the effect that you were looking at it, like from the outside, they would have put like a film grain filter on it, and they would have changed the colors around or something.
Yeah, but they didn't
Well,
need to.
I don't think
But they
you
didn't
w-
need to, and like they kept the camera like as if you were looking at it from if you were on set. And I thought that was a really cool
Yeah.
choice.
I think you're supposed to be watching it as you're supposed to watch them act, not
Yeah.
so much watch the end product. And you can see that because
Right.
they're in the middle of it, and then Rick Dalton forgets his lines, and then
Yeah.
and it's just.
It'd be weird if it was just
immersed
cutting
almost.
back and forth between when they're filming and then like when he goes into his trailer and goes back. I mean, I don't know. I'd be kind of bothered by that even more. I wasn't bothered by this at all, really.
yeah, I thought it was actually a good
Yeah.
choice.
Good film technique,
Good film
Tarantino,
technique, Tarantino,
Quentin. Speaking of good film techniques, on Quentin's part, feet.
Feet.
Oh yeah, so many
The
feet.
feet clump.
All his movies have so many freaking feet, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Alright, well, I'm done with my 2 cents. Why don't you guys give your review, and maybe Joey can talk about his interpretation of the cultist murder scene.
Yeah.
Would you
Okay.
like that now? Okay.
I'll talk about the cultist murder scene.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that scene.
Yeah.
Not because it's a great action scene, which it is, but if you know me, and I think you guys do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a big sucker for action
Yeah.
necessarily. Like, it's all right. It looks cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna like a scene just because it's good action.
Okay.
But the reason I like that scene so much is how tonally different it is from the rest of the movie. And why that is because I feel like the movie up until that point is very tense. Everything is being kind of held back. You get the points where there's almost conflict, and then it kind of cuts off.
Yeah.
What's his name? What was the stuntman's name again?
Cliff.
Yeah. So at multiple points, Cliff almost gets in fights, and it never really amounts to anything. Like
Right,
he gets
right.
in that fight with a guy who's on the set, I guess, and they're in the middle of it, and then it gets cut off,
Mhm.
and he gets in a fight with the hippie, but the guy's coming to fight him, and then he's
Yeah.
already left. And over and over, you kind of get that unresolved conflict sort of feeling from the movie. Not just with like literal fights, but just over the course of the thing. You have Rick, who's just generally very disappointed, frustrated, and is feeling worthless almost, and that doesn't go resolved at that point. But then, at the end of the movie, instead of being tense, it's just, way.
It releases the tension.
Yeah, it's a massive release,
Very
and it just
cathartic,
makes it so climactic.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really fantastic in that way. Even though it doesn't literally resolve any of the issues that are going on, I
Mhm.
think in an emotional sense, it resolves them perfectly.
Yeah.
Rick's all down on himself, and then he burns someone up with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
And I feel like that it just wraps things up very well in that sense, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I love that scene too. I've seen, like, Brendan Hickey, our friend.
Who I've never met.
Nate.
That's not lame.
You gotta fix that, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, he's moving away soon. Anyway.
Let's go before we move on.
But he thought that the rest of the movie was a masterpiece, and that one scene was just Tarantino falling back on his old tropes, and
Like, he didn't know how to end the
It
movie.
nearly ruined the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way at all. I loved it. I feel like if that wasn't in there, I would have been left kind of underwhelmed. But, I mean, it was extremely entertaining.
Well, okay. So what are your thoughts on the rest of the film, in general?
It was all of Tarantino movies kind of feel their length to me. They have very long scenes, and the movies are just like hours at least. But this one especially, I really like the movie, but it was long, and especially with Sharon Tate's character in there, which I don't feel really added all that much.
See, I was gonna talk about that because, like, do you know
Which
anything
character
about the
Margot Robbie's Feet in the
character?
Theater.
The Feet in the Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I thought that also was like kind of unnecessary in terms of the rest of the film. Like, it didn't interact with the plot really at all until the very end.
And then barely, it was not very meaningful.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, but do you
It
know
was kinda
anything
cute.
about the history of the Manson murders?
I know that Sharon Tate was murdered.
Yeah. So
That's about it.
like, yeah. So I didn't know that going in, and I feel
did.
like
Yeah,
if
I didn't know anything about that.
if I had, then it would have been more impactful to me because it's like,
Oh yeah.
like they were gonna go kill Sharon Tate like they did in real life,
Yeah.
but instead they attack Cliff, and then Cliff kills them, and then she makes friends with the main character. And I thought that if I had known that going in, then I would have felt like a much more sense of closure, and like that would have been a really cool like interaction to have between those two characters. So I kind of wish I had like actually, known more of the background stuff going on beforehand.
Yeah, I certainly did, and I was expecting Sharon Tate to die the whole time, but I should have known, because I've seen Inglourious Bastards, that Tarantino likes to mess with history a lot, and I thought that it was a really cool twist that he did, and having known that going in, I was left very satisfied with what he did with it.
I went into the movie completely blind, so I had no idea it was even based on any historical events at all.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, see, if I had, then I probably would have liked the film more. Like,
But Joey liked the film.
Yeah.
A lot.
I
Right?
don't- Yeah. So, in terms of the like almost extraneous character that you guys were talking about, I can agree that it maybe doesn't add much to the plot, but looking back on it, I can definitely see how it contributes to the movie, like thematically.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of what the movie's trying to do is create kind of a character piece focused around almost a contrast between Rick and Cliff, where Rick's this actor and he's feeling disappointed, feeling like he's not wanted almost. And what was the feat character that you were called?
Sharon Tate.
Okay, Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate also was experienced that.
The feet character.
That's all I remember,
Yeah.
was experiencing that in a similar way, where she goes to this movie theater and nobody recognizes her, and she has to say like, "Hey, I'm in this movie. See, here's me." And then when she gets a picture taken of her, like, "Hey, can you stand next to the poster so people know who you are?" And it kind of shares that same perspective of being an actor and trying to feel worthwhile by being like recognizable to people, because it's saying like an actor's entire sense of self-worth is based on how well they look to other people.
But I feel like Sharon Tate's character wasn't really about that. It was more like, I don't know. I feel like the entire point of her being in the film was that in real life she was murdered, but in the movie she you're building up and getting to know her character and stuff, and then finally when you expect her to die, then it turns around, and all that building up was just to lead to that gratifying ending, which I would have appreciated if I had known more. But I don't think that otherwise that Sharon Tate had much of a role in trying to make a point. I don't think she felt worthless because it didn't seem to affect her. She went to the movie and she put her feet up, and then she when her scenes came on, she laughed and she reenacted them, and she was having a great time, and I don't think she was at all bogged down by those lines at the beginning of the movie that she went to. And then she ends up having a baby 6 months later, and then I think it's just the life of an actress, kind of. It wasn't really trying to make a point relating to the other arc in the movie.
I mean, I would disagree. I think that part where she's in the movie theater and feeling happy is part of that arc where she's feeling bogged down initially, but then is able to just watch herself in the movie and kind of find satisfaction from herself, watching herself, and she kind of realizes that she doesn't need to be recognized by other people, and she can tell herself that she's doing good work watching her own movie.
Yep. I didn't dislike her scenes at all. I was entertained throughout, but I just kind of wish there were more of them, and that they had a little bit more to do with Rick and Cliff. I don't know.
I don't think they were really necessarily, but I think they did reinforce somewhat the ideas that were being conveyed earlier.
For sure.
Yeah, alright.
Okay, then. Okay.
I kind of disagree, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think Quentin only put that character in because of the historical events that it's based on?
I mean, yeah, kind of. Like, they needed to develop the character so that she didn't just feel thrown in, and so that's kind of what I feel like her scenes were about. And also, like, they had to, because I know that her husband was a big part of of Rick's character arc as well, because it was, like, at the reason at the beginning that he was feeling so down on himself and then he cheered up is because, oh, I got this famous director living next to me. So I felt like that sort of helped him a little bit, or helped him, and so she was just not thrown in there, but like a part of the film for the historical context, and then her husband was thrown in there to help Rick's character, and I thought that it accomplished both of those things well.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is why they needed that historical backdrop at all. Because I watched it without knowing that there was one, and it was completely fine.
I mean,
If there's that slight gratification you guys were talking about at the end,
yeah, I really like that. I mean,
it subverts your expectations.
yeah. It didn't need it, but I liked it. I guess it's just, I appreciated the references between, like, Rick's character arc and Sharon's arc, like just occasionally acknowledging that each other exists, like being neighbors, but I just kind of wish it went a little bit further, because they're both big parts of the movie and they don't really interact as much as the different characters in Pulp Fiction or Inglourious Basterds that also have their separate storylines.
Yeah, especially because this movie is like marketed as Rick and Cliff's story, like a story about an actor and a stuntman, and not about Sharon Tate, really. And I thought, like, they could have made her a bigger part of the film, and so then she could have been put in the promotional material or whatever. I don't know.
She was in a couple, like she was in a poster, and I did know that she was in it going in, because I went in fairly blind too, but one of the pieces of information that I got is that it was set on the backdrop of the Manson murders. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't necessary, but it wasn't that bad either.
I was trying to bring up an advertisement that I'd seen on the internet for the movie that actually featured her character as the only character.
I was wondering why you were scrolling through a record page. It distracted me a bit.
Sorry.
Listeners,
Watch out the audio.
Listeners, if you're wondering why I was pausing there so much, is because Joey was distracting me.
I'm sorry.
But
anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like another aspect of this movie is like there's sort of fan service.
You mean feed?
No.
Or what?
No.
What's fan
Or
service?
not fan service, but like references. Like my mom saw this with me, and she really liked and appreciated, like, she knew about all the different actors in that era, and she knew that apparently Cliff murdering his wife was like a reference to an actual a real life person.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and so like I thought that was cool that that was a cool aspect of it that I also couldn't appreciate because I'm a young boy.
I mean, I think the movie, there's also an aspect of it where it's just a love letter to
Right.
late 60s Hollywood.
I mean, Bruce Lee is there.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Bruce Lee, but it was nice to see him.
Apparently his granddaughter saw this film and she cried because of how he was represented.
Aw.
Which is apparently disrespectfully.
Uh-oh.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, I thought the character, or not the character, the fan service or fan references or something was a good addition that I wish I could have appreciated more.
Yeah, I guess it appeals to some people more than others.
Alright. Shall we move on to our ratings?
Sure. I gave it a 4. Closer to a 3.5 than a 4.5, but I think a 4 is good.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you, Joey?
4.5, 5.
Wow.
Wow.
I really,
Hot dog.
I really like the movie.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3 initially, but I think thinking about it and stewing on it and like having time to appreciate the things that I didn't appreciate before, I'm gonna raise it to a 3.5.
Wow.
Okay. Great.
That's epic.
Good to hear. Well, I think that's going to do it. Or do you guys want to watch the Playmobil trailer?
Oh my gosh,
We're gonna
yeah.
end this episode here.
No Playmobil trailer?
No Playmobil trailer.
Darn it.
I think this episode has gone on long enough.
Anyway,
Dang it.
thank you guys for listening to the second episode of Filmersteve. Oh! We gotta recommend a film.
Of course, we got.
It's gonna be a while, guys, because we're not seeing each other for a very long time.
Gosh, dang.
But
Joey, do you want to recommend a film or should I?
I'll recommend a film.
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 All right,
I'm going to recommend The Abyss Collector's Edition
bro.
on Laserdisc.
Big surprise,
Specifically on
dude.
Laserdisc. That's the real way to
Specifically on
watch it.
Laserdisc. See, for those of you who don't know, which is I hope all of you, Joey recently got a Laserdisc player because he's pretentious.
Yeah.
And one of the films he got on Laserdisc was The Abyss, directed by James Cameron.
Which none of us have seen,
Which none of us
or
have
know
seen.
anything about, really.
So we're gonna watch that for the next Filmersteve, and maybe
On Laserdisc.
Like it.
on Laserdisc,
On
and
Laserdisc.
hopefully we'll have another movie to talk about that we'll
I'm sure
all have
we
seen
will
in
have
the
seen
meantime.
all. We will have all seen movies. by
Yeah.
then. We'll see.
I don't
See
watch
you in
movies.
about a month, guys.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.